welcome to Never Show the Monster. I'm Kelly Attaway, and my co-host is Chelsea Hollander, and this is the much-anticipated part 2 of our discussion on the dark and the wicked. Will we figure out what the wicked is? Will we decide what type of man the father was? Will I mention any of this to my therapist? Join us to find out.
Are we on Friday yet?
Yeah, girl, we're on Friday.
Oh, yay.
The sister wakes up, Louise wakes up, and she's got like shit all over her face.
Lipstick.
It is lipstick, but when she first wakes up, I was like, are these bruises?
Blood.
Like it looks like a hand. It looks like a handprint.
Oh,
and so I was like, are these bruises? Like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah, what is the... Oh my God, is this another scene that I don't understand?
I don't understand the scene.
Is this a weird... Okay.
Is this a succubus?
Is it? Or is it like a weirdly... Because this is a thing where I'm like, is it harkening back to their childhood?
Oh.
And is it being real gross? Is it trying... Because like, there are subtleties, like her being found in the shower by her father. Like, maybe there was something there that was not...
That would explain why she's the fuck up and why she's like... She's clearly more distraught by this whole situation than the brother is.
I don't know. And I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about it because even at the end, I'm like, it's so conflicting.
I don't know either. So she wakes up and she's got lipstick all over her face, but it's like
smeared.
It's very smeared. It's very faint. It's like a contact of lipstick. It's not like somebody took the lipstick stick to her face. It's like they put it on something and then put the something on her face. It looks like bruises is what it looks like.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
So she goes into the bathroom, freaks out, washes it all off her face, and the phone starts ringing. And so she goes and answers it. And this was very curious. She picks up the phone and she gets the like, banana. Yeah. The number you have dialed is, I don't know. Do you Gen Zers even know what that means? And so she gets that. And that's weird. They were calling her. How do you get that? What?
I feel like I've had that happen.
Where somebody called you and
it's
you
like
got
a
that
weird
message?
ring back. Yeah.
Oh.
Maybe it's because I also came in contact with something wicked and dark and wicked.
Yeah, you just loved hard enough to keep it at bay.
Amen.
So the phone, she hangs up the phone after that message, but it rings again. And when she picks it up, it's her mom's voice. And it says, "Told y'all not to come."
Yeah, that was pretty
scary. And the brother was out getting groceries. He's on his way home. And as he's approaching the farm, he runs into this priest at the end of their driveway. And he hands him a little cross like the mom had in her pockets. And so the priest comes up to the house and he tells them he has been coming to see their mom, because she's been scared. And this is where he says, "She loved you both so much." And the sister looks at the brother askance. Louise looks at Michael like, that's suspicious.
I feel like that would be because even if she decided to reach out to religion at this point because of the things that are going on with her husband, the likelihood of her being completely honest and open would be very slim. I don't know if it's just coming from the South. I guess some people do tell their life story, but if you're like a small farming home, you kind of keep you play your cards close to your chest.
Yeah.
Until you really know the person. And he was even like, I've been here for some odd weeks. I feel like the mom is probably not an openly affectionate person.
She's for sure not, like, we've seen her. She's definitely not demonstrative.
Yeah. So the likelihood of her telling that priest that she cared about them at all seems really not. But do you think he was even being honest though? Because I don't know, maybe.
Well, no, this is the demon. This is the wicked.
Thank you. So he may have had like her soul at that point. So he may have been I'm just being real with you. Your mom super loved you. I got this soul hanging out in here and she loved you guys, but you're fucked.
Yeah. I didn't consider that. I didn't consider that he had access to her soul at this point. Yeah. Maybe this is soul talk.
Mhm.
I think you're right that she wouldn't, even if she did feel that way, which she
wouldn't
didn't
say it.
seem to express to even her children. She's not going to tell this weird priest.
Exactly to that point, her love language may be acts of service. Wait, is that what it is? Gift giving? Like the way she shows her love is based on the items that she can make for a person.
Yeah.
And that was the wedding dress. So she would have never verbally said,
right,
I love my children, but it doesn't mean it wasn't there. But she would have never said that to someone. And her kids knew that. Like her kids knew her well enough to know that she wasn't about to go tell just any random fucking person.
Yeah. This is for sure suspicious to them. And Michael gets sort of combative in this scene. He's like, you've been filling her head with all of these stories of gods and demons. They again establish that Louise and Michael don't believe in God, don't believe in anything spiritual. And they are like, our mom didn't either. So her talking to a priest doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. And Michael is like, you have been telling her stories and you have made her believe in this crazy thing that's happening at the farm. That's what's in her diaries. That's why she killed herself. Like this is your fault. This is your fault. So eventually Michael tells him, like, I think you've done enough. It's time for you to leave. And I thought that this was an interesting scene. So as the priest is leaving, this is also very interestingly shot. I think this is one of the scenes that you were talking about where it feels like you're watching them from outside. The camera is behind the siblings. The siblings are facing the priest, and the priest is at the door. And he is sort of in silhouette. Like you can just, you can't make out features.
Are we talking about the same part? Because this is later.
I'm not talking about the nighttime. I'm talking about Michael just said, you should leave. And the priest is about to leave. And he is standing at the door. I bet you didn't miss this part. He goes on his wolf monologue.
I do remember that. Yeah. Just because you don't believe in a wolf doesn't make it not a wolf. Exactly. If you don't believe in a wolf, the wolf doesn't not exist or something.
Right. And this is basically like, just because you don't believe in a thing doesn't mean it's not real.
Yeah.
So, but the most interesting thing about this, and I didn't write down this quote because it didn't clock when the scene happened. It didn't click until later. He, not only does he say, oh, you think the wolf cares if you believe he's a wolf? He says something along the lines of, the wolf isn't outside. The wolf isn't here. The wolf is already in here. And this is like, we later learn that this priest was the wicked the whole time. And so he's like bragging.
Yep.
He's like, I'm inside. I'm here. You're talking to me. You're interacting with me. You don't believe in me. So what? I'm here. This is maybe one of the best scenes in the movie.
And it was super tense. Like
super tense. Yeah.
It didn't feel like, in horror movies, oftentimes the priest is always like the sense of relief.
Right.
Like someone that's going to come in and guide them to where they need to be. And this is credit, I guess this is credit to the actor and the director and how they set out the scene. Even from the beginning, you were like, this fucking priest, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. I don't think he's a man of God. I don't think he's there to help them. I don't think he's there to give them direction. And like to that point, like when you watch a movie and you're like, oh, this is the guy, like when you're introduced to a priest, you're like, oh, this is the guy they're going to call. Just like in the Possession of Michael Caine. Like, even then he would harken back to the people that he had these experiences with, or like he would try to talk to someone about it. He would talk to the priest about it that he had talked to previously. But like, I don't know. In so many horror movies, seeing a priest is a sigh of relief. But in this one, it was like, in that conversation, I was like, this guy does not make me feel comfortable.
No, this guy was super creepy. I didn't even consider that trope And you're like giving me another layer to think about in this movie. You're right. When you see in a horror movie like this, when you see the priest, you're like, oh, he's going to help. Like, maybe he'll die in the line of fire or whatever, but he's a good guy and we can put our trust in him. Not this
He's
one.
there to perform the exorcism. Well, the second part is like, this is another open question. This is another smoke monster. She had these crosses that were given to children in Sunday school.
Right.
Are these crosses actual crosses? Like, that's what I'm confused about, because shouldn't they be protection? They should be protection against evil. So the fact that she had like a handful in her pocket, shouldn't that be protection? I don't know. This is the thing about the movies that always concern. I don't know. This is maybe a personal fear that is like, if you have a crucifix, that should be enough of a barrier against you and evil.
So I think that we're onto something. I think that the supposition of the movie, the point of the movie, is that belief is key.
Oh.
Like if she wasn't religious, she didn't believe in God, then maybe those crosses don't do anything.
Don't have effect. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't think about it in that context, but that makes a lot of sense.
I don't know that I can defend the whole movie on that stance though.
But I feel like, I know you can't defend the whole movie on that stance, but I feel like if I took that interpretation into other movies or TV shows, that would be accurate. Because I feel like the power is what you put behind it, which will be our next series is about tulpas. Is the power you put behind it. But it is based on the power you want to put behind it. But I think but how could he even hold it?
Oh,
because he had to have believed in it. Because he had to have known. Because he was handing them out, so he had to have believed
handing them out.
So maybe there was like something in it that made it not so positive. Like maybe it was an inverted Christ that you couldn't see doing the splits and diving. I don't know. The demon in this movie, the wicked in this movie. It just seems like it's gonna get you. It doesn't need.
It's gonna get you.
This is a very scary movie because it doesn't feel like there is a way out.
No, yeah, there isn't.
You don't win. There's no winning.
Right.
Spoiler.
There's no winning. There's another thing he says here that I want to talk about. Mm-hmm. He's going on, and at first it sounds like he's talking about David, the husband, and how the wife is like taking care of him. I didn't write down enough for me to bring this up, really, but I'm going to bring it up anyway. He says a line, "She was alone. They both were." And I'm not totally convinced that he was talking about David. I don't think that the he in that sentence is the David.
Do you think it's Michael?
No, I think that I wonder if it's like the wicked was looking for something to partner with. He was alone, and so was she. And so he found... But maybe that doesn't make sense because he was really targeting David, huh?
Was he targeting David? I don't know, because even in the series of the movies that we're watching, if you think of... Most of them want to find some kind of a host.
Yeah.
And we kind of see that going on later on in this movie, is like they kind of take on different hosts almost. But I don't think you would want to take on the guy who's in Mobile at the moment.
Yeah.
You would want to take the wife. You'd want to take the wife because she is capable. She can move around. She can exist. But definitely David can't.
David
Can't do anything. I mean, to that point, he does. He does encompass that body, and he does use it against Louise. So I guess this is another smoke monster. Like, I don't know exactly what we're supposed to take from what it can do and what it can't do.
Yeah, it's just, I think I'm going to have to watch this movie again. I think this is one we should revisit.
We might, yeah. This and what other ones? We're going to read the book on A Dark Song.
Yep.
And we're going to revisit that one. And then we're going to revisit Host, but a little more sober.
Yeah. Whoops. Yeah, so the priest leaves, and later we see Michael on the phone, and this is what he's on the phone with his wife, and he's asking her, how his girls are, how his babies are. And this is where he says that mom was all I had left. I just miss her. I walk around here and I don't feel anything. And I was like, oh, Mr. Albert Camus. Yeah, I don't know. I thought this was interesting. Like, if his mom was so important to him, why doesn't he feel anything?
I feel like that was a weird part of the movie, is that the mourning for the mother felt very, I don't know. It didn't feel like they were really mourning at all.
I actually have an opinion on that.
Ooh.
I think that they mourned this relationship a long time ago.
Yeah.
I think that they had already dealt with her not being a part of their lives. I think that they had already said goodbye. And so her actually dying is just like
another step.
Crossing a T, dotting an I.
Yeah. I think that that's accurate to their reaction. The sense that you get when they come back is that they just haven't been there in years, if not like almost decades. I don't know if you have this feeling, but when you watch movies nowadays, I'm like, oh yeah, they're way older than me still. That's fine.
I know. I still think of myself as like a teenager.
And I'm like, yeah, they're way older than me. That's fine.
Oh no, we could date. We could date. And it would be fine.
But it could have even been a decade between the time that they left their home and the time that they came back. Like, yeah, the mourning process already happened. All 7 stages.
It's like it's scabbed over at this point.
Yeah. And maybe he went back hoping to find some feeling.
Maybe.
And that was part of it, is that she passed and he was like, I'm still at the same place I was. No reason for me to be here. Shit's getting fucking weird.
And
I don't want to be here anymore.
And this is when they finally talk about it. He tells Louise that he saw this visage of their mom the other night. And this is when he says, but it wasn't her. It was fucking scary. And I was so proud. I was like, great job at being honest.
I'm glad that he said it, but I feel like she had to be honest before he brought it forward.
Louise did?
What was the start of the conversation? Did he start it, or was it?
No, she started it. She wasn't telling about her experiences, though. She was like, what if mom actually saw something? What if this isn't?
And then he was like,
craziness?
I saw something.
Yeah.
And he was like, it wasn't mom.
It wasn't mom.
That's the hard part, is that like he saw that happen and he waited that long. I don't know. Maybe I'm someone that just does not wait. I'm a very immediate person. Like, if something bothers me or upsets me, I'm an immediate person to like call it out or talk about it. Like, I can't wait. It'll eat at me so hard. So if I see a floating woman outside the window, I'm going to tell someone about it immediately.
I wouldn't have gone back to bed. I'd have been like,
I don't know how he did. I would be like,
Louise, wake up.
I'm going to watch like 5 episodes of Criminal Minds, and then I'm going to go to sleep when the sun comes up.
Louise, do you see this? Look out the window. Yeah, that's bonkers that it took him a day to tell her. And then they go to bed. They just go to bed. But then they hear something. It's like a scraping noise.
I think so.
And we see Michael get up out of bed and he goes into the living room and Louise is already there and she's just listening. And they're both at the front door because whatever is making that sound is out the front door. And Louise is the brave one. She goes to the window. She peers out and it's that fucking priest. And he's saying, come outside. Come outside. Come outside.
Just come on out. Just come
out. Just come on outside.
Be chill about this, you guys. Come on
outside.
Come on.
So they open the door and he's being weird. He's like pandemic style, like 6 feet from the door, you know?
And I don't want to give any demons any tips here, but like, if you're going to tell someone to come outside, at least like have something out there, like, charcuterie board.
Charcuterie.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if you're just like, if you just guys want to come chill, I've made this beautiful picnic.
Like a bottle of Lagavulin. Yeah, like have something. No, he's just out there being.
But like, why would they come outside? What's? There's nothing out there for them but a creepy priest. No one wants a creepy priest. People want charcuterie. They don't want creepy priest.
You're making a great point.
Thank you.
And so Louise shines a flashlight on him and it's demon style. His eyes are white. I think there was a spider. Was there a spider?
Yeah, but that is also a fun fact that spider was real.
That spider was real? They put that spider on his face?
No, they didn't put it on his face. It just happened to be like hanging from his hat at that time.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, that is a good tidbit.
That spider has got
There are only
great
like 3
timing.
pieces of trivia for this movie, and that's one of them.
That's astonishing.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's amazing. Yeah. So he's just being creepy. And what does he say? He says, do you want some rope?
Oh, something like that about
Yeah.
in reference to his mother.
Yeah.
But he says it directly to Michael. He doesn't say it to Louise. It seemed like a direction to Michael. Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought it was directed at Michael.
Maybe because soon in the movie, they're going to try to convince Michael to kill himself.
Mm-hmm.
Again. So that would make sense. But the phone starts ringing and Louise is like thinking about going to answer it. And Michael is like, don't go answer it. But he is going outside to explore the situation. And I was like, Michael, no. Lock the door. Michael, what are you doing? And then we cut to Charlie.
Would you forget as a character in this movie because he's not that important, but he's just there for you to be sad.
This is the Sam Elliott character. So while the phone was ringing, Louise unplugged it. She unplugged it from the wall. No more rings. And then we cut to Charlie, and he is trying to call them. He is trying to get in touch with Michael and Louise. They're not picking up, obviously. She just unplugged the phone.
He lives in a camper. I would assume on the property.
It must be, right?
But I don't know how they didn't go out and ask him.
Yeah, I don't really know. But yeah, he's in a camper and he's hearing noises too. And so he goes out into his like main living space, and I do not understand this part. So he's seeing images too. He's seeing visions too. He sees it's the demon.
Mm-hmm.
The wicked, excuse me. He sees Louise in like a nightgown.
Yeah.
Stabbing herself, cutting herself, and saying, you made me do this. Or you did this to me. What? What is this?
Maybe this is another part of the childhood trauma.
Elaborate.
Maybe he also abused her.
You think so? I don't know. I don't think that they would have been so friendly toward him if he had. Especially because,
I agree.
Because soon when she finds out that he died, she like goes into shock. She starts crying.
I don't know. Sam may have been more of the father figure.
Wait, Sam? Who's Sam?
Elliot.
Oh, Sam Elliott. Charlie. Got it.
Charlie. Charlie's more of the father figure, it seems like. Like, it seems like he's the one keeping everyone together.
I think so, too.
But he's in it so little, but he has such a big impact. It might not be that he abused her, but to the point that he had to have felt somewhat like her father. Like he failed her in some way that caused, because to your point, he said, like you said, you think she was a fuck up.
Yeah, I think she was a fuck up.
So maybe he is taking that, like her upbringing and who she became as a person onto himself. And the fact that she is not succeeding as a person and bad things are happening to her. Maybe he is internalizing that.
I almost wondered, and this is fully because I haven't been able to sleep lately, unrelated to the movies. I just am going through it. So I wondered if maybe when she was younger, whatever was going on in the family, I wondered if maybe she had tried to kill herself.
Oh.
And maybe Charlie found her like that, or for some reason blamed himself for that. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know.
That's the thing. You don't have the past. And I think this is what the director does well. He only takes a portion of time and he shows you that portion of time. Yeah,
like we said at the beginning, you're like dropped in. You don't get background. You don't get anything after the story. You experience the slice of time.
I mean, that's how people are. Like, you wouldn't necessarily know anyone's backstory or know what's going on. So like experiencing a slice of time is, I guess, important. I don't know for narratives. Is it important for us to give any type of backstory because I don't know why the fuck we have to kill Charlie.
Why did we have to kill Charlie?
Why do we have to kill Charlie? What the fuck did Charlie do? Like, I get it, the parents aren't great, but Charlie seemed pretty chill.
I think it's just establishing that, like, whoever is on the farm is fucked.
In trouble. Yeah. I think that's accurate. I don't know how he didn't, like, and I don't even know what parts of it he understood.
Right.
Prior to that.
Like, did he know that something spooky was going on when the kids arrived and he just didn't tell them, or?
Yeah. Because he was
what?
calling and it was like, answer. Like, he seemed like he had pieces of information.
Yeah, he wanted to talk to them.
That they needed to know.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But it's also weird because the preacher was there at that moment and then he was immediately at his place.
Yeah.
So, like, he can't only exist in one place at once, which is nice. It's less scary, I guess, if you're multiple people. Yeah. So what happens with Charlie?
Yeah, Charlie shoots himself right in the face.
Mm-hmm.
And he does the thing. He does it in his mouth, not at his temple,
But
which I disagree with. But he's effective. It was an effective choice. Don't love it. So it's Saturday now. And the sister, Louise, finally agrees with Michael. They don't know that Charlie's dead yet.
Mm-hmm.
Louise finally agrees, yes, let's take Dad to the hospital. Like, enough creepy shit has happened that she's like, let's get him out of here. And so she calls the priest to talk to him, I guess, about that.
Yeah.
Very weird conversation. So whoever answers the phone doesn't know who she is or how she got this number. He's like, I'm in a hotel in Chicago. How did you get this number? And she's like, you gave it to me yesterday when you came to my house. And he's like, I've never been to Texas.
But he keeps talking about somebody that had killed themselves,
Yeah.
his daughter, and he was like, you sound just like her.
You sound just like her. What the fuck was this?
I don't know. That was a very weird conversation.
Like, at the beginning, he thinks she's playing a prank. And then when she mentions their last name, and this is another scene that I rewound because I didn't understand. She tells him his mother's name. And when she says Straker, that's when he's like, no, that wasn't her name. Like, she says Vanessa Straker, and he's like, no, it was Sarah. I don't remember what names were said in this scene.
Yeah.
But he corrects her. And that's when he goes into talking about his daughter who killed herself. You sound just like her. What the fuck?
That one also wasn't answered. I don't know.
I understand that the priest that they saw was the wicked. And so, of course, he gave them a fake number. But I don't understand this scene.
Yeah, I don't know what that phone conversation was supposed to be. And I don't know. And this is why I don't know if I like the movie. Is because this happened, but it's not particular to what's happening. And you have no answers to it.
So here is the best I could come up with. And this is crazy. This is insane talk.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
So do you remember how earlier the mom called and said, y'all shouldn't be, she was dead. And she called and she said, y'all shouldn't be here. This ties back to my theory that maybe Louise tried to kill herself as a youth and Charlie is blaming himself for that. Did she somehow call her father?
What?
In like a different timeline?
No,
but her father had been to Texas. He wouldn't say he'd never been to Texas. I don't understand what happened to this scene.
God damn it. This movie is so hard.
This movie's so difficult.
Why? But why? Why is it? Why is it this way?
Why though?
I don't get it.
I don't get it.
I don't get it. And I don't know if it's because I'm dumb or because we're not getting the cut.
Right in. Are we dumb? Listeners, tell us what this scene was.
It's okay if we are. It's on Shudder.
Yeah.
You guys watch it. Let us know.
It's on Shudder. I'm fine with being I know in my heart that I am dumb. So you tell me what I didn't understand in this scene.
It is difficult. And we both only watched it once so far. So maybe we watch it again and try to figure it out. But this is a hard one because, like, there are pieces of this movie that I do love, but there are pieces that I think are making it so much more confusing than necessary.
Yeah.
And that's where I can't say it's good or bad. That's the part that's wrestling inside of me that's like, the shots are good. The idea is good.
It's beautiful.
But the pieces of it don't come together at the end. So you have a lot of these threads that just kind of dangle. And this is one of them.
This is a dangling thread for me, for sure.
It's nice to know that maybe they could have just been like, yeah, I'm in Chicago. It's cool. It's chill. I've never left. But you didn't have to say, my daughter, you sound exactly like her. What?
Yeah, what was that? What
does that have to do with it?
And why was Charlie barraged by an image of Louise cutting herself?
I don't know. It's in the sequel.
I don't know. You know what I really want, though, is a prequel.
I know. Just see what happens. Well, the sequel could be the prequel. You know how Hollywood does it.
I don't need, I need so much background on the family. I don't need anything supernatural in it. I need it to be like August, Osage County. I need a play about the family dynamics.
Yeah. This is so...
I don't know what happened.
Yep, I agree. Yeah.
Okay, so the doctor finally comes to check out the dad to see if we can move him to the hospital. And he's like, oh no, he's getting way worse. He's worse every day. He's super weak. We can't move him to the hospital. If we move him, he'll die. I don't
understand that.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, what is it? What is it about the movement that would kill him?
Bumpy surfaces.
He's got this at-home care that has an intravenous, which is probably most likely morphine to keep his pain sedated, and just probably liquids to keep him, existing. If you have those IVs and you continue and you just drive with those, you have an ambulance come, you go on a stretcher, you're still lying down, you get in the ambulance, you get the same IVs. This is a part where I just didn't agree with, because I don't think that there's a doctor that would be like, we can't move him from your home. I feel like that's not likely, even in rural situations.
But I also sort of thought, he's gonna die.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. He was at his end, but if you want him to be in a place instead of at home, I feel like that's fair.
Yeah, send him to the hospital. I don't know. Maybe this was convenient for the movie, but he basically says, hey, we have to stay. So the nurse is here and she says, I can see the fear in y'all. Mm-hmm. There are horrible things in this world and they come for whoever they want, but there's love here.
Yeah.
And a soul needs love to keep it safe. And this was sort of an echo of the wolf conversation with the priest. There's evil out there, whether or not you believe in it, and it can get you, whether or not you believe in it. So in this scene, she's just like, love saves the soul, which is a pretty idea. Mm-hmm. And Michael is the one who has this conversation. He hears her say that. And then he's outside, and this is where that one-legged goat comes running up. Mm-hmm. One-legged goat, not a great sign. Where'd that leg go? So they follow the trail of blood, and they find just a sea of goat carcasses. All their goats been slaughtered.
Yep.
It's pretty upsetting. So the siblings go out to deal with all of these dead carcasses. They burn them. And one of them says, she said we shouldn't come.
Yeah.
They're finally accepting that being out here was a pretty bad idea. Yeah. And so it's this night that the brother, Michael, goes out to comfort the goat with her newborn kids. The siblings are talking. They're like, how many are left? And he says 5 or 6. Almost all of their herd
is
gone. So he goes out to be with them. And this is a pretty intense moment she is like, don't leave me. And he's like, no, if I'm going to be here, I'm going to be working. Let me go take care of these new babies. And she's like, well, then let me come with you. And he's like, no, you have to stay with our dying father. And he says, I was talking to the nurse earlier, and she said something that's sticking with me. A soul needs love to survive. And Louise says, I'm scared. And Michael says, I'm scared too. Which is like a very brave moment for them to both confess that. But he goes out to be with this new goat mom. And as he's wrapping up, he like bottle feeds the new kids, and he's about to come back to the house, and his phone rings. But then those wind chime alarms that we were talking about earlier go off, like the weird strings in front of the goat houses with the bottles and the horseshoes start rattling, and that catches his attention. And this is a very disorienting scene. He starts shouting like, go on, get. Like he's white fanging it. He thinks something's out there. And something is out there, but he thinks it's like a critter or something. I don't know. He's trying to shout at it to go away. But then his mom appears in the goat barn, and she's naked, and she's singing that Jesus song that she's been singing. And she slowly comes out, and she runs into this wind chime string and knocks it to the ground. Like it comes unhooked. Wow. And that's how you know that this is real. It's not something that he's imagining. We have this whole encounter with her, and then we look back at the goat barn, and that is on the ground. Like something for sure came through. And so she comes through, and she's naked and creepy.
And she's covered in like dark veins as well.
Yes. Yeah. It's like she's decomposing. Or
I mean, do dark veins happen whenever you're as somebody who may or may not have varicose veins, I'm sorry, everybody. It just hurts my feelings that whenever you show dead people, you show dark veins. Like, let's not be mean.
You're right.
We already went over TMJ. Like, I'm a dead person, all right, guys. I'm a fucking dead possessed person. That's what we've learned. That's what this movie has brought back for me. But she's covered in like dark veins all over her body to show that she is dead. And I was like, I'm alive and I have those. Is that
insensitive? Insensitive. Yeah. You're right. It's
not
weird.
Good. How can we make someone seem dead without making them seem, I don't know, without attacking some things that they can't control? I don't know. Maybe like, I don't know, make them float. That's why I like ghosts. Let her be a ghost or something.
Yeah, the floating scene was great. Why gotta
be that way?
The floating scene was great. Yeah. So she's creeping out, and Michael is like, you're not real. You're not real. You're not real. And she's gone. And he's like, dope. And so he starts walking forward, but then she's behind him. She comes up behind him, and she starts whispering in his ear, and he falls to the ground and takes out his pocket knife and takes it to his throat as though he's about to kill himself. What is this? Is this demon just trying to get everybody to kill themselves? Everybody kills themselves in this movie.
Does everybody?
No, not everybody, but like a bunch of people kill themselves in this movie. Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe everybody, but we don't know about the end.
We don't know about the end. So he doesn't kill himself. He goes back into the house, and he doesn't say anything to Louise. He goes straight to his room, and he just sort of stares at his knife for a little while. And Louise goes to bed, and you remember, she's sharing the bed with her dad, and something comes into the room and makes a ruckus over on the other side of the bed. And I was super nervous about this scene. I thought
it was going to go way worse than it did.
Yeah, I thought that maybe a rape was going to happen.
Same.
I don't know. Something was going on the other side of the bed. And Louise is very scared, and she finally turns around, and her dad is gone. And then she looks up at the ceiling, and her dad is on the ceiling, and he's like reaching out to her. But then it's Sunday. She wakes up, and it seems like maybe it was a dream.
Mm-hmm.
But then she notices that her dad has cuts on his throat. So maybe it wasn't a dream. But she can't find Michael. That's the big thing. Michael's gone. And somebody comes to the door. It's a little girl. And she says that she is Charlie's granddaughter. And she is here to tell them about Charlie. Her mom wanted somebody here to know that Charlie killed himself with a shotgun the other night. We quickly learn that this little girl is the Wicked. This isn't actually the granddaughter. This is the Wicked, and she's here to be a creep. And I am confused about this scene. So we saw it with the priest too. It's like she can't cross the threshold. It's like she can't come into the house.
It's weird because she is even invited in.
She's invited in, and then she comes in, but it does still take her a minute. Like, why? What's that about?
It is weird because I felt like, because she was like, come on in. I have, I would like somebody to be here. I am having a rough morning. My brother's, I don't know if she said my brother's gone, but she's like, things are weird. And she's already like, Louise is completely out of sorts in this moment. Like her eyes are rolled up with tears, and she's like shaking. Like she is at her wit's end at this moment. And
because she just found out that Charlie killed himself. Right?
Yeah.
And Charlie is a close family friend, and she's just like beside herself. And then her dad starts coughing in the next room, and she's like, I got to go check on him. So she's like, come on in, little girl, come on in.
And the little girl, like, there's a lot of hesitation to the point where I was like, she already invited you in. You can't, if you are an evil spirit, she's already invited you in. I didn't understand the hesitation. I didn't understand I don't know. But maybe that's like part of it is that it's just toying with her to the point where it's like, because then slowly after that, she's like, you smell him, right?
Yeah, it's not even slowly. Like the minute she crosses the threshold, she's like, you smell him, right? And she's got this weird smile on her face. Like it's very clear that she is not Charlie's granddaughter. She is something else. And she says, he's close now. He's rotting.
But is she talking? So wait, is that where she's talking about her father and not?
I don't know.
I think it was a Wicked talking about her father coming close to death.
But was he rotting at that point? He's still alive.
Not yet. Not yet. But I think that's what she was implying, is that he was coming close to it. Like he is near the end.
Yeah.
But I mean, don't even know the logic in that. Like, are you trying to scare the person that he's almost going to die? Because she knows.
She knows. He's been about to die for a long time.
Yeah. It was a weird way to introduce yourself as the Wicked.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that there are scarier things you could say, but like, she's like, yeah, totally. He stinks. I get it. He hasn't showered in like months. There's been sponge baths. We've done what we could. Yeah. Like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand. I don't understand.
Yeah.
I don't really remember how she leaves. The girl leaves.
Yeah. Yep.
The girl is gone at some point.
I think she got angry and she was like, get out, get out, get out. Yeah. And she ended up leaving.
I don't remember, but the girl is gone and Louise is calling her brother, and the nurse is lighting a prayer candle, and she's wearing a cross around her neck, and she makes the sign of the cross over David.
Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Something, wallet, and watch.
What?
Spectacles, testicles, wallet, and watch.
Yes, that's it.
That's a thing. I didn't make that up.
You didn't. I know it's a thing. I don't know if that's what she was doing.
You're right. She was doing the thing you said. So we see her praying over David, and Louise is still trying to get in touch with Michael, and she finally gets through, and we learn that he is screening his calls. He's been driving all night. He's trying to get home to his wife and kids, and Louise says, "You left me," which was hella guilt-inducing. And while Louise is on the phone, we see the nurse, she like smiles.
Yeah.
And for a moment you think, oh, she's evil.
Yep.
She's been bad this whole time. And then we see the conversation with Louise and Michael again. And Michael is saying, you got to get out of there. It doesn't matter. We don't matter. You have to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And Louise says, you're my brother. You're all I have left. And that's a huge bummer. Right? Jesus, she's just been floating. And that sort of explains why she's clinging to this idea of taking care of her dad.
Yeah.
Right? Like if the only thing she has in her life is her brother, and her brother is settled with a family and kids.
Yep.
She's floating. She's adrift. She's looking for something to cling to. And I think that that's why she was defensive about staying with her dad overnight and why she stays with him even through the end of the movie. But while she's on the phone and after she hangs up and just cries on the floor of the kitchen, we see the nurse
lose it.
Yeah. She's been knitting this whole movie and she stabs herself with those knitting needles. Like Louise finds her pulling one out of her face, like out of her cheek.
Somewhere.
That's deeply upsetting.
And she's stabbing it into like her abdomen too. It's not just like artificial wounds. It's just
it's critical wounds as well. I see why TSA doesn't allow them on planes. They let them on planes.
They let them on planes now? Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I only crochet. No one's worried about the hook.
Although, I wonder if they would have a bigger problem with straight needles, which is what she was using. I use circular needles, which are softer. Although they're like a garrote. You could garrote somebody. Anyway. So the nurse is stabbing herself and she's talking to somebody. Like she smiled while Louise was on the phone, not because she's evil, but because she thought God was speaking to her. Like she thinks that she's talking to Jesus in this episode, wherein she's hurting herself and she attacks Louise. She thinks that Jesus is telling her to do this. And that's why I brought up belief earlier. Like whatever this entity is, it's exploiting her belief
that's true.
In Jesus. Like,
but can you turn once again, she lit a prayer candle of the Mother Mary.
Yeah.
And she has been praying to Jesus. She has a cross. She does all the necessary protections. And it is using it against her, but is it even allowed to channel through that? Like, I feel like that shouldn't. I don't know cosmic rules. I don't know religious rules. I don't know how to get to that.
So I also don't know. I don't know the real stuff. But I think that this whole movie comes back to that scene with the priest where he says that even if you don't believe, the evil is out there.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you don't believe in the wolf is going to eat you. I think that that's what the scene is. Like she believes in Jesus. And so that's a weakness that the evil can exploit.
Oh, interesting. Bummer.
This is a huge bummer.
That's a bummer. Because it feels like that's why this movie is so hard also, is because there's no way out. In other movies, you have an exorcism. You have something. You have some kind of a ritual. You have a box you can put them back in. You have words, magical words you can say to make it okay. But this is a movie where that isn't. Yeah. That just isn't.
And I've tried to think about like the title, The Dark and the Wicked. Like the demon thing is the wicked. Like we talked about earlier, I was like, oh, the dark is the night. And you were like, oh, is the dark a metaphor? Maybe the dark is the metaphor. Like maybe the wicked can infiltrate your life because of the dark.
The dark. The interpretation that I read is the dark is the guilt. So it can utilize guilt against you. So anytime you feel guilty about something, it manifests based on the guilt that you feel.
So what guilt was the nurse struggling with?
I don't know. She did say she spent a lot of time with people who ended up dying without loved ones around them. If she had seen someone hurt and she had seen someone feel alone, maybe she felt guilty because she didn't get them out of there soon enough. Or I'm not sure. Yeah, the nurse one is a baffling part to me because she felt like she was good. And that's a weird part of this movie is that there's no salvation. There's just no winning. Like,
no. Yeah.
And that is the hardest part of it. Cause that, like, no offense to Louise, I was like, yeah, she could probably die. But the nurse, I did not feel like was going to be a victim. I felt like if anybody survived, it would have ended up being the nurse. And that is not what happened.
No, while she's attacking Louise, she jabs those knitting needles into her eyeballs. Yeah. And like Chelsea mentioned, she had jabbed them into her abdomen. So she succeeds in knocking out Louise, but she dies. She crumples and dies. And even in those last moments, she thought she was talking to Jesus.
Yeah.
She thought that Jesus was commanding this.
Maybe she thought it was like her path and it was important for her to do what she was doing. But I don't understand how, even if your belief is so deep, but it's contradictory to who you believe in almost.
Right. Yes. Yes.
That's a hard part because it's like,
exactly.
Why would you do that? Because even outside of not a religious context, because it is still in a religious context, but if you read the New Testament, Jesus is chill as shit. And like, he would not cause harm to people purposely. Once again, Old Testament God definitely would. Jesus, not about that at all. So like, I could understand if she was like, I'm talking to God. But if she's like, I'm talking to Jesus, I was like, are you sure?
Yeah.
But like, are you sure? But to the point where Michael even almost killed himself, and he obviously didn't want to with that pocket knife, and he like stopped himself from doing it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what part is forced and what part is voluntary in those moments with the nurse. Because like, she's like crying and screaming as she is just poking out her eyes.
So all of the suicides in this movie, apart from the mom, they're for sure like enacted by the person doing it. You know? So it seems like this wicked, it seems like his goal is to make your life so miserable that you commit suicide, and then I guess he has your soul in the afterlife.
Which I guess harkens back to the possession of Michael King. As that's how that specific, he wanted you to go crazy.
No angels in this one though. What I was trying to get to essentially is that Michael was able to resist killing himself in part, I think, because he doesn't believe. I think that the nurse was more susceptible to it. I think that because she believed she had this
opening.
Yes, I was going to say weakness.
Yeah, that's probably better.
She was more susceptible to these external things happening around her, talking to her. Whereas when Michael saw his mother, he immediately was like, you're not real. Like Michael knew that can't be, it was real, but he didn't put his faith in it. And so I think he was more able to resist it, to resist killing himself, even though this thing had suggested that to him. And I think that when the nurse received commands, like if you devoutly believe in Jesus, and then some voice shows up in your head and is like, yo dog, I'm Jesus, you're gonna listen to that, I guess.
Yeah, I guess you wouldn't have a healthy dose of skepticism.
Like,
But
you're
you
really
would think
primed
it's
to
weird
listen to
though,
it.
because you would think that she would have had, like, she knew something weird was happening.
Yeah.
Like, if you believe in one thing, you probably believe in the other thing.
Right.
So I would have immediately been like, I'm gonna question this. I'm gonna question this.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he showed up with like
Flowers?
a picture of Mary, and he
Yeah,
was like,
okay.
"This is my mom."
He was like, all right. I mean, checks out. I have it on this candle here. I can side by side
Yeah.
comparison. Definitely her.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But oh god. Okay, so remember Michael on the phone with Louise said that he drove all night to get to his family.
Yeah.
And so after the scene with the nurse, he gets home and the house is weird. Like all their beds are empty and the sheets are tousled. And that song, I think it's the song that
On
is
the record.
A song is playing on the record player, and it is for sure a religious song. It mentions Jesus. I do remember that much. I believe it is the same song that the mom has been humming throughout the movie. And he's calling out for his wife and nobody's answering. And he gets to the back of the house where he finds his daughters and his wife dead at the kitchen table. It looks like the wife has slit the kid's throats and then her own. Everybody's dead at the kitchen table. And he can't handle it. This is too much for him. And so he pulls out that pocket knife again and ultimately slits his throat. As he slits his throat, and I called this just to brag, I totally called this. He slits his throat, and once that is done, he looks up at the table and nobody's there. It was an apparition. It was another trap by this weird demon thing. But it's too late. He tries to stem the flow of blood, but it's too late. He dies, and the family comes home and finds him that way. And that fucking sucks. And I think that this was like the thing that he loved most was his family.
Yeah.
That's what he believed in most.
Oh.
And so, like, is that part of this?
Maybe.
I don't know.
See, that's the thing. That is also a thing that scares me. Something being able to get to you even after you've left. So you would think that the wicked was contained to the farmhouse.
Right. No, it's not. He drove.
It is attached
hours.
to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to that, and I don't know. I feel like I wouldn't even, I don't know. I feel like I'd wait a little bit.
You think so?
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I would be like, I feel bad. I feel like I would like revert to like, well, I guess I got to clean this.
That's a common thing with women who commit suicide.
Oh, okay.
I like it sounded like I was setting up a premise for a joke, but typically women who kill themselves are preoccupied with the mess
what'll happen after.
And so their suicides are tidier.
I guess that's what I thought. I was like, well, someone's going to have to clean this up. So I might as well take care of the bodies and then take care of myself afterwards. I had more thought. Like when he did it, I was like, well, that was abrupt. That wasn't a lot of thought put into that. But I overthink literally everything. So
I don't know. This made sense to me. Mm-hmm. Oh man, I was about to be a real bummer. I don't know. This made sense to me.
Well, I feel like whenever he talked about his mom being his whole world, I feel like it was in two different worlds. Like the before and the after. And the before he left home, his mom was the only thing, which fucking bummer for Luis.
I know.
I was like, I mean, was Luis not important to you? Was that not a connection that you made? I don't know.
That was such a bomb for me because I thought that the two of them were in it together.
Yeah, you know? And that specific part was probably the hardest for me. It's just being like, what happened with his relationship with his sister that they were so disconnected that he wouldn't stay there for her. That part got to me really bad when he left her alone, because obviously I associate with her as a younger sister. Having somebody who I care about that much abandon me in a moment when I thought that I could rely on them, and that, like, to that moment, it's like it's life or death for both of them. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I like thinking of that, like, oh, my life wouldn't matter to him. And he just like left. Like, he should have just woken her up and been like, you need to come with me. We need to leave. But
they talked about that, right?
did they talk about that? When
she says, why didn't you tell me? And he says, you wouldn't have gone. You wouldn't have left.
Yeah, that is true. This was a really hard scene for me when she was crying about this, because that, I think, would be very similar to me and my brother. Like, I think I would stay. I would stay for whatever thing was happening. And I think my brother would be like, logically, it makes no sense for us to be here. It's only going to make things worse. And then I would try to convince him to stay. Yeah. And I think he would stay if I convinced him to stay. And I think that could be the fear that Michael had, that Luis could have been the only one that made him stay.
This scene fucked me up because this is the biggest source of guilt in my entire life. The whole thing is leaving my brother. When I left for college, I left him at home, and I've received phone calls from my brother along these lines. And so this scene fucked me up. This part fucked me up.
Yeah, this was, I think for both of us, this was probably the worst part of the movie.
Yeah.
And the one that we ruminate on the most. And I think we ruminate on it, exactly to your point, from different perspectives. Because I mean, I don't need a therapist to tell me that I have a fear of abandonment. No. So, like, that is, like, my biggest thing. And once again, as I've said, like, my brother is so important to me. And he's somebody that I see as someone who's always, he did leave. He did leave for a couple of years, and I couldn't contact him. And to think of that all over again, this movie brought all of that back up. And it's, yeah. But I don't want you to feel guilty. I don't want you to feel guilty, because you continue to say...
It made you feel terrible. I understand. Sure. Well, no, I feel fine now.
No. But, like, you stay in contact with your brother, and I think that you're somebody who cares about your brother so much more than a lot of people care about their family members. Yeah. But, like, even to that point, like, I've spent time with your brother via you. Like, that's... He's... I'm trying
to say it. He's a dumb idiot.
That's not what I was going to say at all. I was just going to say, like, the amount that you care about him is, he has to know that.
He does. Yeah, we've talked about it. We've talked about it some. But what's more important to me is that he knows that I'm like, I'm here. Like, whatever you need, I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm not great at the emotional support, but, like, monetarily, I can help. Like, if you want to talk about your feelings, I'm not going to do a very good job.
Yeah.
But if you want to pay for a therapist, I can help you.
Yeah. And I think that's valid. I think that just being, I don't necessarily talk to my brother about his feelings ever, but I am, to your point, willing to help him. I think that's the thing that we have in common as well. We both left home. We both left, like, both of our brothers are back home, and we both care about them immensely, and we both would do anything for them.
Right.
And that's, like, the point that comes down to this film. Like, even though we both left, this is why this movie is hard as shit, is because it's about guilt.
Yeah.
And it's about, like, we aren't able to take care of the ones that we care about the way that they need to be taken care of, and we don't know how to do it.
And to some extent, we can't.
Yeah.
You know? Like, there's no... I mean, take the father, for example. Like, it doesn't matter how many times you put lotion on his hands, which happens in the movie. Doesn't matter how many times you do that. He's dying.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do. I know that you related to Louise. I sort of related to Michael.
Yeah.
In the like, get out of there. You're only hurting yourself by staying.
Yeah.
You have something good going on elsewhere. Go after it. And I know that it doesn't end well for him, but I can't blame him for trying. You know?
It doesn't end well for anybody.
No,
literally
it doesn't end well for anybody.
That's why this movie, once again, is so hard. Okay, let's just summarize it. So the nurses stabbed her eyes out.
Yeah, nurses stabbed her eyes out. Louise is passed out.
Done for.
Michael's dead.
Louisa wakes back up.
Yeah.
She tries to leave, and then she hears her father cough. And she goes back in and is basically like, I love you. You're not alone. I love you. And then he dies, and then she gets murdered by the Wicked. Or eaten. I don't know what happens. This last scene is, leaving it up to interpretation. Never show the monster. It kind of just shows it in a flash. It eats her body. It's fine.
Honestly, when I said never show the monster.
Maybe a little bit. Like, I need to know. Like, did she get murdered? Did she survive? She did what she loved her father, but we don't know if her father was a good dude.
But did she love him?
I don't know.
I feel like maybe she said that after.
But is that the thing? Is that it was like the guilt?
Yeah, I sort of felt like this was the guilt, and she was so.
But guilt isn't a great feeling to have. But like,
no, it sucks. It sucks dicks.
No, for sure. But why is that like? Why are you murdering people with evil for it?
Are they like easy prey?
Maybe it's just like being receptive. I don't know. Guilt sucks. Everything sucks. This movie, was it good? Was it bad? Objectively, I think it was a good movie. Subjectively, I don't know how I feel.
I don't know.
Personally, maybe Kelly and I aren't the people to comment on brother-sister relationships of a failing family. This was just hard.
So the end of the movie, Louise is at her father's side, and he's like gasping for breath. He's for sure dying. I think it's not until he takes his last breath.
No, she says she loves him while he's gasping. And then she says it afterwards as well.
Okay.
She says it multiple times.
Okay. After he dies, she hears Michael's voice shouting from another room.
I thought he was still alive at that point, trying to get her out. So he was alone. Like, I thought it was the Wicked trying to get her father, but because she loved him, he couldn't get to him. So then Michael's voice was trying to get her out of the room so he could take the father's soul while it was leaving his body.
Oh man, maybe I struggle with a storyline wherein a daughter loves her father, so I don't like that. Yeah, this ending scene was very confusing. She calls him daddy.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Daddy, don't leave me.
I don't know, because there's a fear of being alone. She's lost her mom. She's lost her brother. The only person she has, even if he's an abuser, is her father.
Yeah. Okay,
maybe there's something with that.
Yeah.
But it might not be. I am making this idea that he is an abuser, but I have not. I know that they were uncomfortable when they got into the house, but I don't know what happened because, once again, you're not given context about how they existed prior.
I do sort of think he was an abuser. Something was up. Something was going on.
Something is wicked in Denmark.
That's right. What is it? Is it wicked?
Is it wicked?
Rotten. It's rotten. Something is rotten in Denmark. I don't know. Yeah. So, end of this movie. What we're getting at is, at some point she hears the mom singing in the other room, and she turns around, and one final jump scare, the dad sits up and grabs her, and that's the end of the movie. So that was clearly the Wicked grabbing her.
Yeah. Because he wasn't alive any longer.
No, so he had passed away.
Which they did a good job, because you breathe in when you die, not out.
That makes sense. So yeah, he for sure died. She witnessed his last breath. And then he grabs her. And in this last moment, I'm wondering, I think that the dad was like a catalyst. I think that the dad was a bad guy.
Oh.
And he like invited the demon, right? Because the demon is like trying to consume his soul while also convincing everybody around him to kill themselves.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Because, like, I thought it was going to be like the 2 movies we watched. And I thought there was going to be something about the mom coming out and her trying something to make sure he survived. But that's not what happened.
No.
So I don't know. And to your point, it could be what the nurse brought up that was like, there is something and it's willing to latch on to whoever. And that might be the whoever because there isn't a lot of... And I don't want to be like, there isn't a lot of religious conviction because she had a lot of religious conviction.
She had a ton. And to that point, when she heard the whispers of this creature, she thought it was Jesus.
Yeah.
Like, I think that your beliefs play into it. But the mom and the kids were atheist.
But it still just dragged at them. Except for, I don't know. Okay. How do we feel about this movie?
I don't know.
Yeah. See, that was, and going into it, I was like, once again, I'm going to repeat, objectively, shot very well.
Beautiful
acted
movie.
Very well.
Yes.
The jump scares were effective.
And I don't love a jump scare. I hate a jump scare. But they did a good job in this movie, I thought.
Yeah, it was... If you have a rough family life and you left your family or you moved far away from your family and you want to watch this movie, know that you're going to feel like shit.
Our problem with this movie is the family drama. It's not even the horror.
Yeah, like just... If you come from a loving family, this might be a fun ride, honestly. Like, it might just be like a shrug off. It might be like a possession of Michael King. But
fun ride seems generous. I don't see.
There are no jokes. There are absolutely no jokes. That is true.
This movie is very bleak.
Yeah, it is. But it would probably not upset you. You probably wouldn't talk for 4 hours about it.
Yeah.
Like, it's probably going to be one that you're just like, oh, this was a movie. You guys, do we recommend a watch? I would say no. I'm going to say no, just because it's like, do you want to say yes? I don't know. It's of the 3 movies we've watched so far in this series, this is the one that I would never tell anybody. I wouldn't tell people to not watch it, but I would not recommend people to watch it.
I think I would.
Ooh.
I think I'm gonna.
I don't know. Maybe I just had a visceral reaction to everything that occurred that I'm like, man,
I for sure had a visceral reaction.
I don't want, but you just want people to feel bad.
Yeah.
But maybe that's the point. Maybe you should feel bad. Maybe that's what and once again, is this like the Eraserhead thing? Like, I felt like shit. And like, this movie made me feel like shit. And like, does that make it a good movie? I said the shots were great. The narrative was okay. A little confusing.
Pretty confusing,
but
I would say. Yeah.
Is it the effect where it's like, I had very strong feelings about this movie. So take that what you want to do.
I think that we are a specific demographic. I think that we come from complicated families with strong relationships with our siblings, and I think that is rare.
This would have been a really good one to have a guest host.
Yeah.
I think we have different but similar backgrounds to where this movie hit us similarly.
Yeah, we at least have the same buttons, even if we have different history
knobs?
Yeah, same buttons, different knobs. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think watch this one. I think that buckle up.
Yeah. In summation, yeah. So you're a watch. I never want to tell anybody to not watch a movie unless it's like The Love Guru. I can't. I like the director. I think he did a good job. So I don't want to say don't watch the movie. It was a well done movie. It was a well acted movie. If you're in for a rough ride and you want to watch something that might make you feel like shit, do it.
Yeah, definitely don't put it on if you're like, oh, I've got some friends over. We're gonna
don't do that.
And like have a good night. Don't do that.
Put on hashtag horror for that one.
Put on hashtag horror for that one. No, ew. Put on. You know what? Put
Dead
on
and Breakfast.
Dead and Breakfast. If you can
Put
find
on
it.
Dead and Breakfast. Oh.
Put on Unfriended.
Oh yeah, put on Unfriended.
Just put on like a lighthearted romp. If you want to like, I don't know, if you have had a rough day and you're like, oh, I just want to wallow, this is the movie for you.
Oh. If you're like, I just want to extend the terrible feeling that I'm feeling.
Yeah, I just want to sink into how bad I feel.
This might be it. Yeah.
Pop this baby on.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like this movie gave me the feeling that I was afraid the first two movies would give me.
Oh.
And they didn't. I had nightmares, but I was shocked that it was fine. And then this one just, I don't know. Maybe I didn't have nightmares because it was very realistic. I don't know. I felt I could relate to it. The other two I couldn't relate to as much.
Yeah.
So it like my mind had to process it a certain way, but my mind's like, I don't have to process this. I've already processed this. Thank you. Yeah, it's a rough ride.
This is for sure a rough ride. I'm looking forward to our next movie.
Okay, good. I'm glad that you said that because this one was.
Yeah, our next movie is way more fun. So our next movie will be After Midnight, which is so much more lighthearted. It's still about loss. There's still meat to the movie, but there are laughs along the way too. It's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous movie. So I think that's gonna. We for sure won't record for 4 hours on that one.
Challenge accepted.
This is a long one. Okay, well, this has been Never Show the Monster. I'm Kelly Attaway.
I'm Chelsea Hollander.
And we will see you next week to discuss After Midnight.
Happy Spookies.
Happy Spookies.